Okay, cool. Okay, I will run just a quick introduction about the Catalyst School, and then we'll proceed with the actual workshop. Can you see my screen? Okay. So basically, we are here. This is a workshop from the Catalyst School. We are community initiatives that got funded from Fund 6, if I recall correctly. Our idea was basically to create some content and some guidance for people who join Catalyst for the first time, to describe the various roles and to basically guide them into the process. So this is our introduction sentence. Like, the Catalyst School is a place to leverage the impact of Catalyst as a whole by introducing and improving the contribution of all its different players and roles. So to do that, basically, we have a series of live session and workshops. We provide one-to-one and group support in multiple languages, and we will open these the form to subscribe to these support hours from Thursday. And we are working, and it's almost done, about on a website that will basically collect all the content that we have created for the various roles in Catalysts. And basically, our main topics are about the introduction of Project Catalyst to the general audience. So for people that joined for the first time into the Catalyst world. And basically, we have specific workshops and content for the various roles that are present in Catalyst, like for proposers, community advisors, veteran community advisors, and challenge team. And for this fund, we created a new series of workshops, and this is one of them. Basically, to take the full advantage of the first week of the process, which is for the insight sharing stage, which is basically a stage to better understand the various challenges that are present in the fund, and discover together the various way on how we can address them. And for this specific workshop, we are talking about the Accelerate Decentralized Identity Challenge. And we have here the Atala Prism team. And Anushka will present the workshop to us.
Cool, thanks, Lucio.
Okay, I'll make you co-host so you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Lucio, for a good introduction. Let me try and find the right screen to present here. Put it in slideshow mode. And let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm Anushka Soma Patel. I'm currently employed by IOG as a product manager for ecosystem. I only joined on the 10th of January, so I'm quite new to IO. However, I have been dabbling in the self-sovereign identity space for the last 4 years. And there's lots of fascinating things that I believe this technology can bring about for the world, and especially in my personal life. So every time I look at self-sovereign identity, and now that I have an idea as to the kind of experiences this technology can enable for us as individuals, I just keep, when I run into processes that are admin intensive and cause a lot of friction for me, I just really wish that I could have an identity wallet in my hand and sit on my couch and click a button and get the job done, and that all of these people just trust that I am who I say I am because they have all the checks and balances they need in place. And, voila, the job gets done. But unfortunately, life is not yet there. I have been speaking to someone recently just for a coffee chat. And he's also working for, I think, the Cardano Foundation. And so he's a dear colleague of mine now. And he started talking about the convenience economy, which I thought was quite a cool term for us to perhaps coin, because that is exactly what I look for out of this tech, but I'm sure that it brings about a whole lot of other benefits as well. For example, potentially eliminating honeypots of data, maybe in the future when all the business rules and governances change, when people start understanding what this technology can enable for them. So I'm going to go through a short presentation of what our challenge is about. Our challenge is called Accelerate Decentralized Identity. And so I've got a few slides to share with you. I will also point out what the difference is between the Self-Sovereign Identity Challenge and the Accelerate Decentralized Identity Challenge. And through the slides, I'll also share with you some open office hours for our team. And our team is happy to support both challenges, both SSI challenges and the Accelerate Decentralized Identity challenges, because they require a very similar body of knowledge. And I think Rodolfo and his team in the Self-Sovereign Identity Challenge workshops will also share with the community in terms of what support their challenge team will provide. So let's get on with this. So during Catalyst 7, our challenge was accepted and we were awarded 500,000 US dollars in ADA for this challenge. This challenge is mainly looking for how to enable interoperability amongst different SSI solutions. I like the celebration there, Alison. As well as community networks. How do we further enable community networks? And then really for me, it's about credential verifications, because I can issue you with a credential, but if you're not going to use the credential anywhere, then I'm just wasting your time and space and effort in this world, because I'm giving you something that you're never going to use again. So it's really about how do we focus on credential verifications, because those are the credentials we need to think about giving people, because they can use it to conduct other business or, do other things in their lives with. So why now? I mean, we've come a long way. We've seen the whole crypto wave come through its phases. And then we've seen that self-sovereign identity started getting spoken about. And now people are talking about crypto wallets. And then you've got identity wallets. And then you've got decentralized exchanges. And what people are talking about is the convergence of crypto and SSI. So we're really happy to hear your thoughts as we talk through today's insight session, about where your thoughts are when it comes to convergence of crypto and SSI, and what are the crazy, weird ideas that you're dreaming up today that we're going to make a reality tomorrow. And I don't mean literally tomorrow, right? So don't hold me to that. And then we're also looking at top-down enablement that's starting to accelerate. So in South Africa, we have our financial services guys that are looking at an SSI initiative. And then we've got the, Cardano or IO already communicated publicly about the initiative we have going in Ethiopia. And that's in the education sector. So that's already working with the government, top down. In South Africa with the banks and the banking environment top down. But the opportunity for us in this room today is also about how do we start thinking about interoperability, because we know that the sovereign blockchain's been around for a while. We've seen Evenym do a lot of work, Trinsic do a lot of work with different companies in this space, and they ledgered on the sovereign blockchain. And so, since there are ecosystems of people that are starting to use other blockchains for identity, we got to make sure that whatever we produce as the community and as IO starts thinking about the interoperability angle as well. Because if I go to bank number one and they say, hey, here's your verified identity, and then I want to go and buy a new product from an insurance company, and the insurance company says, sorry, I only do work on the sovereign blockchain and not the IO blockchain or the Cardano blockchain, then we have issues, right? Because we're not interoperable and we can't really do things. However, I must say, this does not mean that interoperability has to be there from day one, but it is definitely something we need to think about if we want people to have that convenience of choosing, which wallets they want to use and which blockchains they're working on. So from that perspective, we really need to think about how will we enable interoperability in all that we do. And then we've also got the bottom-up self-governance and DAOs. So when we're talking about bottom-up, this is really looking at the individuals like you and me and a few others that joined us last night who have amazing ideas in terms of what this technology could bring about for the world, and who are looking for like-minded people to come together to nurture these ideas, fund these ideas, and potentially bring these ideas to life. So that's the bottom-up strategy versus the top-down strategy that we have to understand. That's the dynamic that's going on at the moment. So through Project Catalyst, we're really looking at enabling the bottom-up strategy. And then in terms of self-governance, I mean, from the Catalyst program itself, I'm sure you all are exposed to a whole lot of self-governance that's going on. And so we've got to think about what does self-governance look like. So today we're really used to centralized organizations vetting an organization. So if you look at all NPOs, and I'll use the NPO or organization example because I'm trying to set up an NPO at the moment as well. So the government will have a website, and on that website, they will list all nonprofit organizations. And so if somebody says, hey, Anushka, don't you want to give our initiatives a donation? And if I don't know the person, and I don't necessarily always do this, but if they're saying I'm working for this organization, then I could go and say, oh, is this organization listed? But then how do you check that the person's actually working at that organization and they're actually giving me the right details to provide funding? So there's no way of really doing all your checks and balances to make sure that if I think I'm funding Stop Hunger Now, am I really funding Stop Hunger Now? Or is this person just taking the mickey out of me and getting some money? So really, we need to start thinking about self-governance and how self-governance would work. And then the third thing is DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. So while we understand, and in one of my further slides, I will talk about the different layers of trust, but if you take an example where an organization has the ability to do a liveliness test for you on your phone, to take your identity number, to do a facial recognition for you, and then send the information off to your local Home Affairs office, which is a government office, and then verify your identity and your face against the Home Affairs database, and come back and say, yes, this is Anushka. She was alive at the time of doing this. And, we verified against the Home Affairs database that this is her. So if you think about that process, depending on the type of application you're holding in your hand, so mobile app that you're holding in your hand, you might be able to do this totally seamlessly and without a human being intervening in the process. So that could be turned into a decentralized autonomous organization that verifies you against a central database and then issues you with a verified identity that you can now use to onboard or use in different situations in your life where people are using sovereign identity technology. So for me, these are the kinds of opportunities we're trying to enable through this challenge. You can feel free to interrupt at any time. I don't mind. So the next question you might have is, okay, so if I have an idea, how would I know what's a good solution and what's a good outcome? So when we talk about good solutions, we're saying it starts with a simple, repeatable use case. So for example, if I have an idea that's only going to benefit this group of 10 friends of mine and not anybody else outside of this small group, then maybe it's not such a great use case because it's not something that we can scale and get adoption of our network. So we're really looking for starting simple and repeatable use cases. You can start small, but it must be something that you can apply in different situations and across different jurisdictions as well. And then in terms of the roadmap to grow the network and expand the network effect. So this is also you coming up with ideas in terms of how is it that we can grow this network of ours? How is it that we can expand this network of ours, to get more people on the same blockchain and utilizing the same services? That's if we're not interoperable quick enough. Or even if you have interoperability solutions, you can propose them here. Another point I'd like to make here is, we've got the basic building blocks being developed and soon to be released on our prod environment for SSI. And that's with the Tala Prism. And so if anyone needs certain functionality to enable your use cases, our team also wants to know about that, because we can then take that and put it on our roadmap to make sure that our technology is enabling you the way you need to be enabled. So as you get into this ecosystem, and if you find that, there's a little nut or bolt missing here, then just, speak to our team and we'll make sure that whatever you need is on our roadmap, and we start making sure that we're collaborating together so that we can leverage our infrastructure. In terms of good outcomes, again, we're saying repeatable patterns and tools enabling self-governance and pioneer communities leading the way in the real world. So we see you as pioneer communities, doing the bottom-up strategy and coming up with great ideas and actually showing people in the world what's possible, because a lot of people are so used to this centralized systems that we have today that it's so hard for them to imagine a different kind of system that exists. So let's see how we can come up with real proposals that are going to show the world what's possible. So I put this slide in to help us understand what's being built by the Tala Prism team and what layers are still needed, in terms of us to collaborate effectively. So currently, if you look at the APIs and the SDKs, they sit at this public utility level, which is layer 1. So a lot of people talk about layer 1. It sits right here. And in layer 1, when you start interacting with the Cardano blockchains, Atala Prism infrastructure, you will have an SDK and an API that you can then use to build functionality into websites and mobile apps. And that's where the second layer comes in. So layer 2 is about the actual agent wallets and the actual person wallets. So, having the issuer, the verifier, and the holder, having wallets that they use or apps that they use to create and issue credentials, to hold credentials, and then to verify credentials. And then what we have on layer 3 is the actual issuers, holders, and the verifiers using the apps that are built on layer 2. And in layer 4, what we have is, what is the governance that is needed to make sure that we're building trust into the issuing and the usage of credentials. So something that we have been discussing on the Pioneer Program for Identity is this whole idea of a governance authority that manages a trust registry, and the trust registry holds, issuers and verifiers, because let's take the identity for an example, right? Home Affairs as a government body is allowed to issue a government identities, right? And they may have services that they've agreed with the banks, where the banks are allowed to issue your verified identity. So they then be listed, the banks and maybe Home Affairs would be listed as a verified issuer in the trust registry. And now let's assume we want to know, well, valid, trusted people that can actually verify this entity. So who should I be sharing my identity with? And here we're saying that you should be able to share this verified identity with people that are also listed in the trust registry. Now, you may be sitting there having different thoughts about how to enable layer 4 through, maybe us trusting people in a community compared to us having a trust registry. So we're open to hearing all sorts of ideas that come out of this workshop and that came out of last night's workshop, because someone said, I had a totally different idea about how this trust thing is going to work. That's also possible. So we're not saying that this is the one way to rule them all, but this is something that the trust over IP frameworks have introduced and have come up with. So the community is always very open to hearing more. And then you've got the holder that uses this. So the holder will also be able to tell who's trusted issuers and who's trusted verifiers. And that's trying to protect all of us in the ecosystem. And then the last thing I'd like to share with you is the fact, or second last thing, is the Tala Prism operating model. So the way we've structured our product and our program is around starting off with ideation. So Project Catalyst is the key driver for ideation for the product that our team's busy building. Ideas would come in and we'd give access to people that have proposals, so propose ideas for these challenges. We'll give people access to our Pioneer program, which was recorded, and we're busy working on making that a self-paced program. The first one was not an in-person program, but an online live program. So we would then give people access to our training so that we can certify developers on our SDKs and APIs. And the training, even though we're saying it's for developers and we can certify developers, there's like 80% of the content that just covers, the basic principles of SSI, what this is, how it gets used, what kinds of use cases it can enable. So 80% of the content actually applies to everyone and not just developers. And then from the training, we also talk about partnerships, right? So that partnerships is about identifying high value use cases, and developing that partner network. It's also about, the investor readiness program, which is called the Catalyst Boost Camp, which the Catalyst program will inform participants about. And then there's also VC opportunities, which is if your proposal is successful, you could receive funding for it. And so you can see we go all the way from ideation to some training, and then also supporting and potentially sponsoring some of the amazing ideas that come out of here. And if we see brilliant ideas coming out through the proposals and through the proof of concepts, we're definitely interested in seeing, are there commercial opportunities that our preferred services group, I think that's what they called. I was corrected yesterday, Lucio, so correct me again if you need to. They would also look at this and say, wow, this is a high value use case. This is amazing for us to really take this team and help them understand the gold mine that they're sitting on here, and then helping us to commercialize those high value proposals that come through. And then what we're talking about here in terms of the ecosystem, it's about, accelerating the development of healthy ecosystems, and really about looking at what are the basic tools that people need, tools and frameworks that you may need, or what kind of support would people need to actually get their great ideas and their great use cases, proof of concept, piloted, and then live, and then to manage that with ease. Because I think if you started with SSI back in the day, all you had was this API and this SDK. And if you didn't have really smart developers, you were like stuck there with a great concept and a great idea. You were basically stuck because the tools didn't enable a better experience for you to bring that to life. We also talk about different verticals when it comes to ecosystems. So the idea that you have, if you take the identity idea, each and every vertical needs identity, because everybody wants to know, who's the person I'm working with, and how do I know that they are who they say they are? And so identity would fall into all of them. So the way I'd like to see this, even though we currently have them as, blocks in a row, in a column, I would like to see it as, here I am as the holder And in my daily life, I interact with telecoms and education and governance, and, I give donations on impact projects, and every day I buy stuff from Take a Lot and stuff gets delivered. So when we're looking at this, I like to think of the person as being in the middle, and then you think, like, in my daily life, where am I going to use this thing? And, you may use it in multiple verticals and not just one. So your use case could apply to multiple verticals. Down here, Lucio, can you grab this and stick it in the chat, please? These are the office hours. So if you'd like to have a further conversation with our team, you can book office hours with, Tony Rose, myself, Peter, or even Lohan Spiss, who's now 2 days old in IO, but he's got a wealth of SSI experience, and he's like super, super excited about the work being done in the SSI space. He's also running a really great project called YOMA, which is youth market. I can't remember I think it's market, but it's a youth marketplace that he's working with UNICEF on in the SSI world as well. So we've got some really great people here for you to speak to. So the differences between the self-sovereign identity challenge that you will see versus the accelerated decentralized identity challenge. The SSI challenge is looking at receiving high-value projects, growing participation on SSI discussions, and partnering with ecosystems, governance, and working groups. The way they define the metrics of success is the number of proposals that directly address SSI in a quantifiable manner. And there's various ways in which you can do this, because when you are thinking of an idea, I was head of innovation for a little while along my journey to IO. And what I realized is, someone can come up with an idea, and if you don't understand what that idea really is, you could easily dismiss it as like, okay, they said these 5 sentences and that's great. But it's only that person who's really passionate about that idea that can help us understand the benefits that they're trying to bring about in the world through their idea. So, we've kept this quite generic, and Rodolfo and his team are saying it's the number of proposals that directly address SSI in a quantifiable manner, and you can quantify what benefits come out of that. The quality of proposals measured by community interest and engagement. I'm assuming that they would see that based on the idea scale interactions. And then the awareness of Cardano inside the SSI community, working groups, and governance entities. So, I'm also currently the co-chair of the South African Financial Blockchain Consortium's Identity Working Group. And when we started off on that journey, Cardano wasn't in the picture. So we were looking at Uport, and we were looking at Sovereign and Civic at the time. But now there are so many different, SSI solutions that one could look at, including Atala Prism, which is on the Cardano network. So it is important for us to start creating awareness of this network and the infrastructure, and the fact that here's a really good SSI infrastructure that can be leveraged on projects. So creating that awareness is definitely important. So that's the SSI challenge. And then the accelerated decentralized identity challenge. Here we're looking for identifying high value credentials and discovering repeatable patterns to leverage Cardano decentralized infrastructure. So high value credentials would be credentials that organizations may usually pay for today in our centralized world. So I know that every time someone calls the Home Affairs database, they're probably paying a little fee. For example, they may be paying 2 Rand or something like that. So in this world, if one organization's checked you out for 2 Rand today, and you have this credential, could they charge the other organization a Rand to reuse this verified credential, because you're not taxing the Home Affairs database again? And in that way, these very regularly used credentials that are issued could make for really good use cases. And then in terms of metrics, we're looking at realized production pilots or launches in 2022. So how many of your brilliant ideas are we actually going to help nurture through this ideation pipeline and through this funding pipeline, and through a POC pilot, and then eventually into production to make you successful and to make us successful? So I know that when we come up with ideas, and I've seen this many times, come up with an idea, but then you don't have the guys to help you build that business case around it, but you know that it's valuable. Or you don't have the experience to actually build out the ecosystem governance framework around it, because maybe you haven't been exposed to it before. So this is where you get to engage with us during office hours, and we try to help you make connections with the right people to pull your idea together and get it across the production line. But where you also find help is through the Catalyst and the Cardano community. I mean, this community is so phenomenal. I mean, my mind was blown when I was introduced to it. And, it's this whole, I don't know, Lucio will tell you a little bit more about Catalyst School, but you will be added to Discord channels and Telegram channels and Slack channels. Advantage of it, because that's your opportunity to connect with like-minded people with different skill sets to form a team and make your idea, the success that you really want to see. So really it's about, we want to see production launches. We want to see the number of use cases that are repeatable that come through the pipeline. We want to see an increase in the number of issuers, holders, and verifiers. So when you're doing your proposal, think about how, who's going to issue, how many people are going to issue, who are the holders going to be, who are the verifiers going to be, how many times would this credential be used in my life if I just take a typical person that's like me, that's going to use this amazing thing that I'm bringing to the world. And then the number of verifications performed on credentials in production. So we have seen a lot of talk. Then we started seeing a lot of proof of concepts and a few pilots. And I think where the SSI world is, there are some pilots, and I don't think we necessarily seeing that tipping point into production. So this year, we really want to see some projects going into production. And that's really why we've created so many office hours for you to actually interact with us and see how we can assist you to just be your most amazing best. Lucio, so that's me in terms of the slides. What I've done on this slide, I don't know how to get rid of this bar. What I've done on this slide is I've created some post-it notes. So we are now going to go into an insights sharing discussion where we will ask everyone to share your insights around, this challenge and how you think your ideas can help address this challenge. You can introduce yourself, help us understand what your idea is. We can have a little conversation. And then from this conversation, we can also see how we can point you to the right places. So I will turn off my sharing now, and I'll be capturing in notes on these slides. Let's stop sharing. Are there any questions before we open up? Nadia, you look like you want to say something to us.
I wasn't planning to in that exact moment, but I will say it was nice. I couldn't stay all the time yesterday, and it was wonderful to see it again. There's so much here, and it's such a collaborative offering that I'm excited to hear what comes out of the conversation.
Okay, perfect. But since we have you on the call, can we maybe hear what your idea is and, what your thoughts are in terms of insights on the Accelerating Decentralized Identity Challenge, or the other one, the Self-Sovereign Identity Challenge?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity for educational credentialing. That's really sort of where I'm interested in, the educational sphere, and thinking about how we might provide that credentialing in different places that it would streamline someone being able to do work. So that's where I'm sort of starting to think about it, and just tapping the just overall merging of the concept with the actual real world use case.
Okay, fantastic. Are you doing any work in the space at the moment, or are you belonging to a team that's working in the space at the moment?
Not in and outside the Catalyst environment. So this would be more of a maybe initially developed to serve the Catalyst community, and then I can see that that would be a fantastic test area for it to be able to then develop further.
Okay, perfect. So there are lots of people in the community that are looking at education credentials. From Catalyst 7, I've seen a few proposals come through related to self-sovereign identity education. And how do I issue a credential for that? Also going as far as I hold SSI meetups, and when people come in, how can I give them a credential for being part of this community, or how can I give them a credential for knowledge or skills that they have? So people are thinking along those lines. And, you know, you could see how you could assist on one of those projects, or maybe even start your own meetups and leverage some of the ideas that they've put forward, because they've asked for funding for certain things. I don't know if they won funding, but there was a request. So there are those things. People are looking for, I had layer 1 to layer 4. People are looking for, if I don't have the development skills, where do I get a wallet, and how do my people use a wallet? Now, for me, from day one, all I wanted in my hand was an SSI wallet on my phone. So every time I spoke to someone, I was like, okay, can I download this thing? And a lot of the wallets were in the test flight at the time and not live. And so I just wanted to download this thing and then test the issuing and verification of credentials. So even at the outset, and the reason I'm sharing the stories, even at the outset, it is something that starts giving people a feel for what the future could look like. Because they're like, oh, so if I can do this with this credential, what can I do with these other credentials? So, it starts piquing the interest. It definitely does. So yeah, please keep chatting, looking around and chatting around. But if you do want precise pointers, you can book 30 minutes with us, and we'll do some digging around for you based on the conversation we have in the office hours.
Yep. Hi guys, Mark here. Hello.
Hey, Mark.
Hello. Hi, guys. I'm a product manager for Tala Prism. Just following on from what Anushka was saying, Nadia, I'm sure the actual list of Fund 7 winners is available in IdeaScale. And if you go through some of those titles, you'll see, which ones were related to education specifically. And I'm sure you can tap into those guys for any advice. Hope that helps. So hopefully everyone is familiar with how to get around IdeaScale. It can be a bit tricky sometimes. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Well, Mark, you raised that point in the right forum, because Lucio is here, and maybe Catalyst School can do something about that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yes, Victor.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you and to be here. I'm from a project that is going to bring the no-code SSI platform to Cardano community and integrate Atala Prism. And there is one question that we would like to clarify is, what are the plans for Atala Prism Core to implement schemas and credentials definitions, which are broadly used in the SSI solutions, and how this public information will be stored, whether this will be a generic approach for the trust registry to store this information in Cardano blockchain, or a different ecosystem should think of own implementation of the trust registry. Thanks.
Thanks for the question. That's a little overloaded for me right now because I'm too new to figure out the answer, but maybe Mark can help us answer this. Mark, I'm putting you on a spot now.
I don't have the answer to that, but I can check with Tony on what our roadmap is for Core Did. And I don't know, Lohan isn't on the call, but he's taking over as the Core Did platform product manager. If that makes sense. But we can definitely take that back to the team and get an answer for you, Victor.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Victor, you could potentially even just book office hours with Tony and have the conversation.
Right.
I think we've shared the office hours, right? Yes, we've shared the links for office hours. So look for Tony Rose's one and book 25 minutes with him and get your answer.
Yeah, that's
but
probably the
on that
quickest way.
note, yes, and then we don't have to remember to get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, Victor, I think on that note, I mean, if you're already working at that technical SDK and API level, and saying, okay, how do we create this no-code platform, et cetera, you already know what functionality is currently there and what's missing, right? So in that conversation with Tony, and even during this round of Catalyst, you can start thinking about, well, what's not there and is actually needed for my project to make progress? And then should I be developing this and put it into a proposal? And then we can figure out, like, how do these things all hang together?
Right.
Going forward.
That's the approach we are going to take. And yeah, I think it will be a productive collaboration.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Victor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I see Alison's hand is up.
Hello, nice to meet you, Anushka. I'm a Prism pioneer. I did the first introductory course, and also I'm very involved with Catalyst. I was on the Catalyst Circle last term, which was a really incredibly exciting opportunity, and I'm planning to bring those two things together with a Fund 8 proposal, which I will follow up with you and or Tony to talk more about at a later date. I'm pretty far along and just looking to have a more in-depth conversation. But the purpose for me raising my hand at the moment, I wanted to ask a question because I really liked the way you introduced the Prism Pioneer course. I'm not a technical person at all. I'm a finance and business management person. And I took the course because I wanted to learn more, even though I was a bit intimidated by my lack of developing experience. And the coding part was super hard. But what I wanted to say was, I loved the way you talked about the course, that the 80% of the course is not dealing with coding, it's learning about SSI. And that was life-changing for me and really inspired me to want to work in this field. And I see so much potential. And so a couple of things I just wanted to say to that. I think that to the extent that I can help market that course as something that's really relevant for people who don't have technical skills, I would be all for that. And then there are wonderful partners like Victor who can provide support on the coding and technical side for those of us that aren't technical. And then my actual question is, when is the next one? I'm getting people asking me how they can register for the Atal and Prism Pioneers next cohort, and I haven't seen any details about that.
Okay. So I'm going to share inside information with you because it's hot off the press. Well, it's still being created. It's not like quite off the press yet.
Just to remind
Still
you that we are recording.
Pardon? Oh, okay. It's not yet off the press. So we've ran Catalyst, the first cohort through it, which you were in. So thanks for joining that and thanks for the good feedback. What we want to do is, we realize that we have a small team, right? So we can't have the team doing Pioneer programs all the time in a live format. So we're busy exploring how do we create a self-paced learning program that people can go through. And we want to test that out over the next couple weeks, get some feedback on it being a self-paced program, and then we will open that up further to outside of the small cohort that we're using for the cohort 2. What I have asked people to do for now is I've said to them, go to the Pioneer Program page and register your interest, because as soon as we open up, we will go to that list of interested people and invite them onto the self-paced learning program.
By the Pioneer page, do you mean the Discord server?
No, there's a website for Atala Prism Pioneer Program.
Oh, really?
Lucio, if you can please find that for us and stick it in the chat. So there's the Atala Prism Pioneer Program webpage, and there's a register button on that page. So just click on the register button and register their interest for now.
Okay, that's
Don't
good.
worry, I'm as good as you, hey? I've been telling everyone about this amazing world I've just stepped into since the 10th of January. And everybody wants to know, well, how do I so learn more about this world? I'm like, join Prism program. They're like, how? I'm like, for now, go and register your interest.
Yeah. Thank you. That's
yeah,
great.
and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will know exactly when it's out there, because I will post something about the self-paced learning on LinkedIn.
Excellent. I look for a connection request from me.
Okay, I will do that. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Hi, my name's Nick. I am also a colleague of Victor's, who you just heard from. I have a couple of questions. One is just relating to that Pioneers program. So I've been speaking to quite a few people in different challenges, like the DeFi challenge, for example. And there's a huge range in the level of understanding about self-sovereign identity and how it can play a role in their business models currently and in the future. And that varies also across the majority of the DeFi projects, as an example. And this is that theme, that characteristic is common not just in DeFi, but across, I think, most of the challenges that aren't directly related to SSI and decentralized identity. And one of the explicit goals that you've stated is that you want to see high value credentials, and the SSI guys want to see use cases coming through. We all want to see more SSI use cases being developed using Prism credentials. But if the verticals into which we're trying to seed those use cases don't understand SSI, then it's going to be a hard and uphill sell. And we found that with Proofspace for a few years now. So is the Pioneers program accessible to people who don't want to go deep, but just want to understand enough to know how it applies to their business?
So it's something our team has discussed. So because we had the first release of our SDK coming up, and we wanted the pioneers to also, work with the SDK and give us feedback, we targeted technical people for the first cohort. I think we let quite a few people into that program. I think we had over 100 people go through the program. However, as I mentioned, there are 80% of the content is not just technical stuff. It's, general SSI stuff that people need to understand. So in our next cohorts, we definitely want to attract, all different types of people and not just hardcore techie developers. So the short answer is yes, it will be open to people that need to know more about it. Mark, do you want to add to that?
Yes. Just so I don't know, Nick, have you gone through the Pioneer cohort 1?
We were in the program, but we joined about halfway through, so we slightly kind of missed the momentum in there.
No worries. So as you know, I think hopefully you would have gone into Canvas. So Canvas is what we were using for it's a learning management system. So all the content is in Canvas. So a non-developer can go through all of the lectures, all of the Canvas lectures, right, without actually writing any code, right? Like to Alison's point, it's all non-technical, it's more educational around the concepts of SSI. So I think you're right. We shouldn't just say, hey, only developers can go through the Pioneer program. That's not what we're targeting. It should be.
I suppose it's an awesome starting point, and I suppose the angle of my question is whether there would be potential proposal idea to help make the content directly relevant to different verticals that are really active in the Catalyst community, like DeFi. And that's something I raised the question because it's something that we, the ProoSpace team, would be really happy to work on. And obviously our Fund 7 proposal is about integrating Prism into our platform. So for groups that want to know, okay, like I understand SSI now, how does it help my business? That developing the value propositions for different verticals is something that we'd be happy to help with if there's interest from the Pioneers program on doing some kind of joint proposal there.
I think that would be a great idea, yeah, because if you've gone through Canvas, we've kind of kept it very generic and not use case specific, right? But I think it would be awesome if we could add new content into Canvas that touches on, you know, SSI for DeFi or you know, SSI for supply chain management or SSI
right, yeah,
in terms of KYC or something like that.
Yeah,
I think with Canvas, we've actually got an enterprise license for Canvas, so we're going to be able to utilize it more. So definitely, I think we should definitely engage you to add new content into Canvas that could be supplementary, you know, and if people are interested in that, they can read it. If they're not, they can just skip over it, you know what I mean? So that we can really build out the program that way and the content.
Okay.
I think there is also an opportunity to use the challenge teams from the various challenges, and maybe I don't know, create some connection with this type of content that will be specific for challenges. So maybe this is something that we can discuss for the future.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, and I just had another idea. Deepika, Danitza, why could, you know, I know we've reached out to some other challenges. Why can't we just reach out to everyone else, introduce them to Tata Prism, SSI? Maybe we could get some traction there. Like Nick said, there might be other people who might have specific experience in other industries that might want to be interested in SSI, for example. We could pull them in and maybe help them create material as well.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Deepika, we can definitely think about that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds good. And we did have some ideas around that in terms of how to brush up the material and how it can actually be slightly broadened in scope so that it can actually address and include more people and educate them about SSI as well. So yeah, definitely. Thanks, Mark. We'll discuss that in detail.
Great.
Thanks.
Excellent. Nick, thanks for that good insights sharing. This workshop is working. I see that Alison's hand is up and Naveed's hand is up. I'm going to go to Naveed because his hand was up long ago. Naveed, you need to change the color of the paint on your wall because I can't see your hand when you're listed.
No, indeed, none of the filters work, so I shall sort that out at some point. If it's too bright, I'll switch off my video. Anyway, so this is not an area I work in. So getting education is part of me getting educated. But I joined the Auditability Challenge team, so I have a general interest across all challenges. Although having said that, I think I'd be probably a good guinea pig for your Pioneer self-learning course that's coming up, so I'll definitely register for that. I'm trying to work out where I fit myself in. But my question is just bringing it back to the challenge team and so from the proposals that were funded or potentially not funded in 7 or 6. I don't know if this was a challenge in Fund 6. Is that going in the right direction? So I see from the latest list did you get 15, 20 funded projects in accelerated decentralized identity? you had 20 in total. Are they moving in the right direction? Are there specific areas you guys are looking at that people should focus on? How are you categorizing those 20 or whatever's come before that?
Okay, so I'll give my understanding of what's going on, and my colleagues on the line can add to this. So 1.7 had just ended, right? The results were announced. Our next step is to, host a workshop with the winners, as well as the other proposers, just to kick off our journey and what that journey is going to look like going forward, what support they can expect from us, and what support we could potentially also provide from the broader IO family. What our team has done is opened up those office hours, as Lucio shared in the chat. And so just like how this group of people, as well as last night's group of people, is welcome to book office hours with us, the Catalyst Fund 7 guys will also be able to book office hours with us. Having said that, some of those teams were starting to get on the road with their project even before their proposals were voted for, right? And so we've already got a wallet building team that's on the go, doing some amazing work. And their project's definitely going into the right direction as far as we can see. There's 2 other teams that I personally met with. We've tried to, the one was like going all broad out and trying to solve the whole world's problems. And we've tried to, steer them towards doing stuff that's still manageable so that you get some runs on the board instead of trying to solve the whole world's problem on a piece of paper and not getting anywhere practically. Another person we've tried to connect, and he's from Fund 6, we've tried to connect him with the right networks so that his project can also move forward. So we're providing those opportunities where we're not just leaving you, to kind of make it into production on your own without any support. We are trying to be there to provide some kind of support to participants. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I think it's really that it's the that's really useful feedback for the proposers for Fund 8, because of the of the 20 or 30 or so proposals that have been funded and now are in flight. Are they in the right category? So are they fitting are they ticking the boxes that you want in terms of the different levels you went through earlier, or are you looking for specific areas for people to proposals to focus on, or and you mentioned broad-based scope as opposed to a much simpler scope. So just trying to get that feedback loop back into proposals where they should be focused, how they should set their proposals for Fund 8. It's probably where I'm coming from.
I see that. So I think what we are looking for, we're still looking for the interoperability proposals to come through. We're still looking for further use cases across different verticals, proposals for those to come through. I wouldn't say that there's any type of proposal that will not be considered, because we understand that, different wallets will provide you with different experiences. So even if you have a wallet proposal for self-sovereign identity, it's not something that we would be close to because there's already one wallet being built. So in my opinion, I don't think we're limited at the moment with respect to that. What we really want to see is using the credentials, getting into production. So if you can focus on projects that get us from idea in my head, I think it'll be cool to let's POC this, let's pilot this, let's go live with this. That's where we'd prefer to go. Because I think once you have that, Naveed, also, why I'm saying this is once you have those first few projects that are in production, people start believing even more, right? That, oh yeah, this thing does work. Oh, this is how it works. I think I can do a better job than that. Let me create something different. Or, so it starts the wheel turning. Whereas if we just keep doing growing the community kind of things and, you know, not the landing in production kind of things, then we still stay in the theoretical space instead of getting into the practical application.
Yeah, you just are show me, don't tell me. So no, show me something, don't just tell me it's going to work. Right? And I think the previous conversation you had around training and courses and getting enough of a cohort together who are interested in this topic, and getting more people interested, so you get enough flag wavers and people who can go out and sell it on to others, because you know I work in lots of boring areas, data, application security, audit. People are not interested in this unless you tell them. Not to say this is boring. It sounds really interesting, but you know, from a technical point of view, not necessarily something that people will put their hand up immediately. Yeah, people want to build apps, right? Don't do all the difficult stuff.
Yes,
but
you're right.
Getting enough people interested from a technical and non-technical perspective through the course, and having that self-generating community to go out and sell it to each other, and that's where we'll do the show and tell and get more people interested.
Absolutely. I mean, we've spent 4 years now showing and telling and trying to convince people, and we've now got one project moving forward in South Africa, which I'm really proud of. But yeah, it takes a while for people to understand what these crazy people are trying to say.
Many years showing and telling data analytics solutions to people, and eventually it became a bit sexy. now people want to know about data and analytics and even security.
Absolutely. Yeah. So don't limit yourself. I'd say let that ideas run, let your ideas flow and put on what you think is really going to make a difference, because I also don't know what the landscape is throughout the world. I just know my local little landscape of SSI and what that's currently doing. So feel free to put your proposal forward and let's see where it goes. Okay, thanks, Naveed. Alison.
Yeah, thanks. Just a quick question. The IOG team, I've kind of met various people, and I'm happy to meet you now, but I'm not exactly clear who does what. So when I have a question and want to reach out to somebody, it's a bit random. Is there any feedback you could give me to help understand the IOG team roles and responsibilities just a bit more? Specifically related to the Tala Prism team.
Okay. Yeah, because IOG can be like.
Yeah, no. I meant, the office hour, the 4 office hour people that you put up there. And cool. Mark, I think I'm meeting for the first time in this call. I'm just curious what you're each responsible for and how you interact with each other.
I'll let Mark take this one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so obviously, I think everyone knows IO has grown in the last year specifically. And Tala Prism itself has grown a lot. A lot of the guys here are just new. I think myself and Denitsa are the oldest on the Prism team. So maybe we could do a round table actually on the Prism folks here on what we do. But in terms of product, we now have 4 product managers in Tala Prism. So we have Tony Rose, who's head of product or head of identity in IO. And he's our boss as such. So he runs the show. He's the main man. We then have myself. I am now UX Foundry product manager, and I'm going to be looking after all of the challenges from a UX perspective that are out there in the SSI world. So I'm also responsible for all of the tools that we're building on top of the infrastructure, right? So the mobile apps that we have out there. If you've seen the demo on YouTube, we have the issuing tools, management console, issuing creating the credentials, issuing the credentials to the mobile apps. I also I'm responsible for the interactive demo on our website. So all of this kind of just showcases how we utilize the underlying infrastructure. That's me, UX Foundry, product manager. Anushka, maybe you can talk a bit about your role as ecosystem product manager?
Sure, thanks, Mark. So I'm an ecosystem product manager for Atala Prism. So basically the Pioneer program sits on my lap at the moment, and that's my core focus. The interaction of the Pioneer program with the Catalyst program, so these sessions and making sure that we have enough capacity to support the Catalyst program and the Pioneer program. That's also part of what I'm looking after at the moment. And then in the next few months, what I will start looking at is how to build, building of trust registry templates and potentially even requirements in terms of ecosystem governance and how to build trust within the ecosystem. So that's going to be a big part of my job going forward. And then we've got Peter. Peter's also listed in the open hours. Peter looks after he's our technical writer. He looks after the technical documentation. He answers questions on the Discord channel. So if you have any questions, you can ask it on Discord. If he doesn't have the answer, he will come looking for the answer and then give you an answer on Discord. And then Lohan is our new coded product manager. So am I right? Is it coded product manager? Am I saying it wrong, Mark?
I think it's
okay.
It's platform product manager, but that is the infrastructure or the SDK and Node, right? Yeah, so he's just joined and he'll be taking over that. So he's the guy who, if you have any new methods to add, on the SDK, for example, he's the guy to talk to get that onto the backlog. Yeah.
He comes with a wealth of experience in SSI, like I was saying earlier. So really you can throw any question at him. He's also opened his calendar up for office hours.
Yes.
Does that help?
That is super helpful. Thank you very much.
And maybe Denitsa Deepika, if you can say hello as well.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Deepika. I'm new to the team as well. And I lead product marketing for Atala Prism. So I will be leading all the marketing efforts, everything that you're going to be seeing in the future with respect to the brand, our positioning, everything which makes us look nice and sassy as a brand, both at a program as well as at a product level is something that I'll be leading. And I joined forces with Denitsa in this work. So she's a veteran in the team. And in all honesty, I am new to the SSI space myself. So there's a lot of learning for me as I go along and developing that. So I think I'm definitely registering for the Prism Pioneer program, and it helps because 80% of the course is non-technical and I'm a non-technical person. So yay. So no, really excited and nice to see all of you. I've heard a lot about how passionate the community is. So it's really, really nice to at least meet a few members of really committed folks. So very excited. That's me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing joining these calls and feeling the energy. It's absolutely great. We should do this more often.
They will organize.
Quickly about me as well. So I've been with Atala Prism for almost 3 years now, and for a long time I was covering product marketing. Recently I joined the product team, and now my key responsibilities are around the product strategy. We are initiating some cross-functional engagements within the company as well. And also we're going through transformation processes that need a lot of resources as well. So these are my key areas.
Thank you so much for that. It's nice for me to get to meet all of you and understand the interactions and the roles and responsibilities a bit better. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So the other guy that's on our team and works really closely with me is Urosh. Urosh, you can show your face quickly.
Oh, sorry,
he's
I
a
didn't
really great
realize
project manager.
there were more.
He's a really great yeah, he's a really great project manager, but I'm not going to say that for too long here on this call because people might poach him. Thanks, Orosh. Tim is on the line and Tim hasn't said anything to us. Tim, share with us your insights.
Okay, yes. So my area is green supply chains, green circular supply chains. So I went through the Atala Prism program, Pioneer program, and I was funded in Fund 7 to use the digital identities, the DIDs, and we're going to use them to store the certificates of things like soil management, certificates used for trade, bills of lading. We're going to use that to the DID infrastructure to store that in a way that the farmers or the users, everybody can access them, which isn't typical in a supply chain. So that's my perspective on it.
Congratulations on winning proposal in Fund 7. Well done. How's your team coming along so far?
It's pretty good. We're familiar with the DID concept from other projects. So, and I've brought up to speed 2 or 3 guys on the Atala Prism. So we're doing well. I think we're still our technique is to sort of architect everything completely first before we start coding. But yeah, we're just launching that this week.
Awesome. So when you're saying you're launching that this week, are you launching your architecture work or?
Yeah, we're going to set up everything, our team for, we're going to do a lot of automated testing, our GitHub policies, our management and our management processes. Yeah, just typical bootstrapping a project, getting all the bits and pieces in place. And then also awesome. The breakdown of tasks. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, good luck. I'm sure you're going to do some amazing work. And please do share with me if you have a wallet and you're doing some funky stuff that I can play with my identity wallet with, because that always excites me.
Awesome. I certainly will. That's a great offer. Always good to get tokens.
Yeah, I also like getting tokens.
Okay. Send me your wallet. What address?
Yeah, so you're also welcome to. I know you've won funding. Are you going to put in another proposal during Fund 8, or are you just attending to see what's going on in insights sharing?
I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go into broad. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, perfect. So there's a lot that we spoke about, everything from education. We've got green credentials. We're speaking about this low code environments or no code environments, a bit of user experience Mark brought in for us. Are there any other insights that you may have had during the discussions that you'd like to share with us? Even our team can. It's okay. I'm not just limiting this to like the people that are not in our team. So even if our team had any insights, you're welcome to speak.
I would like to ask, maybe it is something specific to the Catalyst process, but it could be useful from the perspective of a community advisor who has to evaluate a proposal in your challenge. I think the impact, the alignment to the challenge is pretty clear because you clearly identified those items. I'm a bit curious about, I don't know, what kind of criteria should be focused on about the feasibility, of a project. So how basically what we have to check in a proposal to be sure that it will be something that will be delivered and it's within the scope of the challenge.
Oops. Sorry, Lucio, I lost you there for a little bit. I need you to repeat your question.
Okay.
If you had a question.
Yeah. No worries. Basically, we have, as a community advisor, we have three criteria to evaluate every proposal, each proposal that will be in the challenge. The first one is about the impact, so how a proposal is aligned to the challenge, and I think it's pretty clear. You described the criteria pretty clearly, so I have no doubt about it. The second criteria was about the feasibility, so how a proposal basically will deliver what they are trying to deliver, and how it is feasible, the development of the process. So I would like to ask you some focus topic, something about a community advisor should focus to evaluate this specific criteria for a proposal within your challenge.
Okay, so I'll give a shot, and then Mark, please back me up here. Oh, see, Mark, you're unmuted. You can go first. I'll go second.
Sorry, sorry, what's this question? Apologies.
Oh, okay, let me go first. So what should the CAs focus on when assessing the proposals that come through for our challenge? So you said impact, which is quite an easy one, and you got that sorted out, and feasibility. So when it comes to feasibility, we got to make sure that, I mean, like, everybody has lots of ideas when it comes to SSI, right? And Lucio, we have found one or two people going like so broad in their thinking that they're not landing practically in terms of what they need to do. So I think when it comes to feasibility, we need to say, so one, they may be using existing functionality that's in the SDK, or they may need one or two other things. If they need a couple things built in to deliver, we can have the discussion around those things, right? But are they using the existing functionality, and are they actually, can I say, ring fencing their use case so that they can be successful to deliver? Or are they going so broad and trying to engage the whole world that they're actually not going to land anything? Because, it could go one way or the other. So I think it's going to be important to try and assess from the proposals, like how blue sky and we're fixing the whole world's problems are they, versus how practical, and we're going to try this thing in this small use case, but it is scalable to the whole world in this way. So I think you want to look for what are they going to try in the short term, in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next year.
Okay. So basically, I think first focus target is about the SDK functionalities. So something that actually can be developed now, or maybe in a short term with some other functionalities. And also, maybe it makes sense for a proposal to already have some external partnership about a specific use case. And this could be, I don't know, something that could make the proposal more feasible, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example, right? I can say, oh, I really want to create this proof of identity use case, but I am little Anushka sitting in my little study, in my little house, and I have no link to the Home Affairs database. I got no contacts in the bank, no potential people I can speak to. I can bring the idea up within these insights sharing sessions, and I can bring the idea up on the Discord channel and start looking for partners that can help me make this real. But by the time I submit the final proposal, if I don't have any of those lined up to help make my proposal a success, then I'm definitely not going to deliver in the next 3 months, right? Unless by some miracle, someone can connect me with someone that's going to help me do things. Because even when you're trying to do something with a corporate or with a government, you may not always get speed. So that may also hinder people a little bit. So if people have the contacts in place, and if they have the skills in place to actually deliver on this idea, then that would make for a much better proposal. So another example, 2 examples I'd give you. So something that's really amazing is I heard from someone a few years ago that they have an address verification mechanism, right? I mean, and who doesn't struggle with trying to verify people's addresses? Because unless the bank sends someone to your house, how do they know you actually live there? And I can go to the police station and say anything and then sign it as an affidavit, right? How does the police actually know I live here? It's because I'm signing it under oath and they're hoping I'm not lying. So the thing is, if they have this idea verification tool, and if I can find them, then I can say, okay, I'm putting in a proposal for this address verification tool, but then I already have the developers that can provide that, right? And then all they need to do is integrate with our SDKs and our APIs and potentially be able to prove the concept that this can work. And if we hook up with someone like Roots Wallet team that already exists and that's already building a wallet, then maybe the Roots Wallet team can say, let us integrate this functionality into our app. And then amongst the 3 of us, we can actually make this happen in the next 3 to 6 months. You know, so you want to look at the practicality, like make sure they can join the dots. If they like just blue sky and there's no dots, then that's a problem.
Okay, cool.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe if I can just add on to that, another thing that I think would be useful to have in proposals is to talk about, I'm just talking about from what I'm going to be looking after as well, is around customer experience and user experience, right? So that's all what it really comes down to. So how can we simplify people's experiences, right? So I think one example is if you go into a bank, you want to open up a bank account, you know, the nightmare you have to go through with verifying your identity and how long that takes. So obviously there's a lot of steps involved there and it kind of can be cumbersome. So obviously if we can simplify that in some way, that's just one example. So yeah, user experience, customer experience, maybe putting in some examples of how that could be simplified in the proposal, I think would be beneficial. And this isn't technical at all, of course. This is just down to simplifying the end user's experiences, right? So this is something I think that when the community goes in and looks at the proposals, this is something that they will see and that will resonate with them themselves. That helps.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nadia, go for it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you all for this presentation. It's been really enlightening and certainly thought-provoking. My question is more, what are some of this team's thoughts about the greater community connecting with the Pioneer, with those who have completed the program? I think there's lots of opportunities where it would be great to have someone with that thought perspective. Even like Alison mentioned, going through the program opened up a whole different idea for her about things that she would be able to do. And to Lucio's point, we also have like a great need for that level of expertise in assessing proposals overall, or in just being in conversations within the Catalyst community where it would be helpful to have someone who has that training. What outside of Discord and sort of the places where you would come to find to maybe make those relationships directly, is there any suggestions that you would make, or is there any like future effort where we could definitely, like, the community could find and connect and maybe enlist the guidance and expertise of some of these people who have gone through this training, so that we could have them have the benefit of their thinking.
Yeah, let me look for something. I just want to check if I have any ideas as to where these two communities meet up. But Deepika and Denitsa and Mark, maybe even Urosh, do you have any answer for this?
Well, we have the list of all the pioneers who went through cohort 1. So I don't know if we can provide, if you want access to that somehow. I don't know how we could arrange that.
Or even for the community to be able, and maybe it's not an information sharing thing as much as meaning that you would be able to share that. But if there's something that says, hey, have you thought, if you haven't found a place to apply your learning yet and you want to start doing that and build new relationships and be able to contribute to something that might be a stepping stone or even just something that feels like an application of your work, something that we could kind of bridge that communications gap and find each other more easily.
Yeah, actually, Nadia, we're organizing an event exactly for this purpose, where the goal is to provide a convening place for everyone who has a project to share their use cases or wants to get involved in one way or another. At this point, we'll be inviting everyone who proposed an SSI use case as part of Fund 6 and Fund 7 in Catalyst, Project Catalyst. It would take place maybe in the next couple of weeks. If you're not a proposer, we can just get your email and invite you. But that's one of the initiatives we're looking to kickstart going forward.
Yeah. And then I'm just looking at the picture, I found it. And it seems to me like the the Cardano community does have their social media channels, emails. Discord, I have a question mark for. And I see that there's also a community on Telegram. So I don't know if you are on those channels, because those could also be places where you could find people with the skills to collaborate with. And then there's also cardano.stackexchange.com, which seems to be a Q&A website. And you can ask questions related to any of the IO or Cardano products and infrastructure. And you should get an answer, because there are people managing that platform as well. But I think it's a good point that you raise. And, through our discussions in our team, we'll also just check in to say, how can we create that space that's quite obvious? Because there are so many entry points for the Cardano community. And now we're saying, okay, for SSI, how do we make it easy for people to find synergies? I think the big eye-opener for me was, there are people on other challenges as well that could really make use of identity, but then they're sitting in those challenges and we opening up the training to the people on the identity challenges. So it's also something else we need to see, because it seems like there's a much bigger community that can benefit from this knowledge. Please book that office hours with us. We'll have some chats internally with our comms team as well, and then see what ideas we come up with. So if you give us like maybe a week or two and then book a slot, we'll see where we got to with those discussions. Thanks. So before everyone goes, if nobody else has any more questions, I'd like to know, now that you know a little bit about SSI, and I'll say a little bit because there's always just so much more to know, what you see as the user experience that's enabled by this technology? Like, in your mind's eye, like, what did you dream about? What is it that excites you about this technology that you're going to have tomorrow that you don't have today? And how do you see it working? And if you don't know where to start thinking about this, think about I lost my wallet was stolen, and now I need to replace all the identity documents I had in it. My bank cards, my driver's license, my book of life, I don't know, whatever else you keep in your wallet. And all, if you just had to think about what would this technology bring about in terms of improved user experience for you when it's alive, when this technology is brought to life tomorrow, compared to what you have to do today? Are there any cool ideas you have?
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that if you'd like me to start. I mean, two things come to mind immediately. The first, from a user experience perspective, it is such a pain to manage. I probably have, 30 or 40 critical passwords for various things that I have to keep secure. And I think I understand that having an identity wallet could resolve that chaos and make it much more streamlined for me to verify my identity in multiple different places without having to keep track of multiple different passwords. So that's one big user experience improvement that I can imagine or envision. The other is that I think that SSI can really change the power dynamic. So I spend a lot of time on crypto Twitter, but Twitter is completely in control. If I don't like what they're doing, I leave and they have everything that I've ever done there. But I think with SSI, the data is mine. And so if I leave, I take with me my content, my connections, my relationships, and that completely decentralizes the power dynamic and takes the control and the advantage away from the big central corporations and starts to put it in the hands of the decentralized community that's using those services.
True. I like that. Thank you. That's good insights for us. I like the passwordless login. I mean, when I heard about that a few years ago, every time I log into a website, I'm like, I need SSI. Can you imagine how many times a day that is? Like right now, I've been struggling for 2 days to log into IdeaScale because I can't remember which password I used and which email I used. And I'm like, I give up.
Yeah, I don't have some channels on my phone just because I haven't managed to connect the passwords and the apps between my browser and my phone. And it's just such a pain.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is. And Tim, let's hear what will look different for you tomorrow. Tim's looking for his unmute button. Unless he's gone to get coffee.
Yeah, well,
Nadia,
for
you go well.
Our American friends, it's up pretty early in the morning.
Nadia, you
go. This is sort of a more like anecdotal or like everyday person story, but also I think philosophically. So I've been married a long time, but for whatever reason, and I found out actually through this process of doing it that a lot of people do this, so I didn't feel as bad to my husband, but it took a long time to change my name on all my documents. And the process of changing my name was so laborious and cumbersome. It took many hours of just sitting in places. And I was really contemplating this. I unfortunately did one thing out of order, which is I did my license before my social security card. And if you've ever gone through that process, it's really terrible because once you don't have that piece, then all the other pieces trickle down. And so I'm saying this to people as I'm going through it. And it was kind of hilarious. If there had been a journey following me around the people that I met and who were also going through the process, who had similar hilarious stories. But, and so people were saying to me, well, it's great that they do this because then no one can steal your identity. And just that overall mindset of it's great that you don't have possession of any of this. And all these different places can decide if you're you or not, based on whether or not you kept your tattered social security card in an envelope in your closet. And I guess my point is like the overall mindset of we don't even consider that because it's so normal. We just grown up with it. And I remember when I was a kid, my mom handed me like the Ziploc bag with all of my documents and saying like, here's your birth certificate, put it somewhere. You know, there's a real sense of, I think a real sense of opportunity in changing people's approach. And I think that's a really important conversation for us to have, such that people can draw conclusions, because this is like maybe a silly story of the changing my name, but it's hard to make the transition from what does it look like when your ID is centralized or decentralized, your identity. These are the kind of things that will be some of the first changes that people have. And I think we need to make sure that we draw the conclusions for lay people so that they can start to imagine the different opportunities. And it doesn't just become something that, you know, some of us are willing to undertake the understanding of, and others think, you know, it's not really going to affect me. It really will affect all of us. And painting that global picture is something that will probably take some time, but will be much faster if we can really make some of those actual life experiences. We start to bend the reality of that for people and to recreate it in a different way. And I think that changing of that mindset will also help new creative imagination to happen for people who aren't even thinking about it yet.
Absolutely. I mean, that's such a great example to use. And what about changing your home address? I mean, that's another, like, okay, where do I start? Or your bank account details, where do I start? I normally look for where are all my debit orders, because those are the important ones. Or your phone number. Yeah, absolutely. Naveed, do you want to share what you think tomorrow is going to look like? Naveed's also lost his mute button. Okay.
I will go for it.
Well, oh, he's on another call. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I have a 7-minute video that I'd like to share with you because it actually shows you an example of what tomorrow could look like. Can I share that video now, Lucio?
Sure, of course.
Is there something cool I have to do to share with sound, or will it just share my sound?
I'm not sure. We will try it.
Okay, that's a good one. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
I lost my play button.
We can't hear the audio. I think...
Can you hear clearly?
No, we can't hear.
Not clear. You can't. Oh, okay. Well, what I'm going to say is I've put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, this is a little proof of concept that we did with the South African Financial Blockchain Consortium. So there were 3 entities in South Africa that got together to do this. And what it actually shows you is, let me stop sharing the screen. Oh, there. What it actually shows you is the type of experience you can have when you receive your digital identity from one entity, and when you try to onboard with another entity, so buy a funeral product from another entity, and how easy it is to, with the click of a button, share your verified information. And if the process is automated enough on the other entity's side, you could easily receive your insurance cover or whatever it might be, you know, within minutes or seconds, instead of having to make an appointment, leave your desk, travel somewhere, get copies of all the things they need, and filling out manual forms and all of these crazy things that we have to do today. So please have a look at that video. I think you'll find some ideas in there. Let's hear what Denise thinks in terms of what tomorrow could look like. I'm picking on all the people that are busy on other calls today.
I can go for it.
Okay, go Lucio, you give us.
Okay, basically I live in Italy and we have a lot of a bureaucratic system that it's really crazy. And basically every time you go to some government office and you need some document from another government office, there is a law that basically you could use that if it is something related to the government, they should already have it and you don't have to present it. But in practice, this is not true, because every office just keep asking you documents from other offices. And this is crazy because everything is already in some centralized database controlled by government. But at the same time, there are these multiple entities that have to access it, so they can't directly access it. So I think the best use case here is that I just want to own every documents that I need, because if it is something related to me, I can just own them and obviously share it whenever I need it. I need to with every government office. So it's kind of, I don't know, a pretty basic use case, I think, but it's sometimes it's really crazy because you have to go around 20 offices just to complete some practice.
Yes, and it's so frustrating. I mean, another example I used yesterday. Thanks, Lucio, for sharing. I mean, that's, definitely hitting the nail on the head. It's like all the time that you got to waste and then finding the right things that people want. It's like so frustrating. And the worst part is when you can't find those things that they need. So I was saying to the team on the line yesterday that I bought a carpet washer, but it doesn't wash my carpets nicely, right? So when I bought it, I got this receipt and I'm like, okay, cool. I put this receipt somewhere in my study, which is like a really busy place. And now when I eventually called the manufacturer, they said to me, oh, do me a favor, please give us a copy of your receipt and tell us the whole history of what's happened so far and where your item is. I'm like, I have no idea where my item is. I left it at the shop that I purchased it at. It's sitting at some place they sent it to for testing. I still don't know where it is. Maybe if I could track it using an IoT thing, that could help. And then now these guys are asking for my receipt and I have no idea where I put it, right? So if it was on my phone in this app and I could easily go like, receipt, here you go, have it, and provide consent for them to have it, then that would have just been so much easier. So anyway, I had to make a plan to try and find a copy of this receipt to send to these guys in the email. And this could have just been something that they could have requested via my identity wallet, and I could have clicked consent, let this information go to them and not have to wait 3 days, hunt for this thing, not find it, stress everyone out in the house because maybe they put it somewhere. So there's definitely ways in which we can simplify that user experience. I'd really like to hear from Tim, because Tim is talking about green credentials and it may be the same or similar to, or maybe slightly different to the experiences we're thinking of creating tomorrow to eliminate some of this admin friction that we have. Tim, over to you.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the examples that came up in the PRISM Pioneer program that over and over again is that you control how much data you reveal. Like if you're trying to get into a bar and somebody wants your ID card to verify your age, you might have some kind of picture that's been grayed out, so it can't really be used for to identify you and maybe your age. Whereas if you get pulled over by a cop and he says, let me see your driver's license, then there's your address, maybe your driving history, your first and last name, your age, everything. and that's under your control. They call that the verifiable presentation. So whether you're sending a resume or for a job application or applying to a university, it's not a one size fits all. You can tick the boxes and share only the data that you want. And that's a big part of data ownership, because of course data is a $1 trillion industry. Companies that we log into and use their systems sell our data. It's like a new economy, and since we don't own the data anymore, it's a economy where people buy and sell our data, but we have no part of that market, right? We're not part of that market. So actually owning our data, then if people want to know our preferences, if people want to do some big data analytics, they have to get our permission first, and then probably the incentivization that's now going to the big tech companies has to be parceled out to the individuals who own the data. So I think that's a very exciting future.
Yes, absolutely. And Tim, thanks for bringing that up. So one of the terms I used to use in the past was, the data economy. And I think that this tech can definitely enable the data economy, because, with the use of smart contracts together with the Prism SDK and the verifiable credentials, there's definitely opportunities to say, this is my data. Okay, you want me to fill out a survey because you have my insights for this new product you're developing, and you are paying $5 a survey today. So let me fill this out and let me receive the payment into my wallet. Currently it's like you can be bombarded with all these crazy surveys. Some do pay, some don't pay. Some people catch you on the road as you're walking, with your family along the beach and having an ice cream, and they're like, hey, we're doing the survey. Can you please fill this out? It's not like they're paying you anything for that. But imagine if someone in an office could just say, okay, send survey, and you could say, for these pieces of information, am I willing to share this? Yes, I am. Consent, you get paid, they get the information they want, and you start that data economy. So I also really believe that the combination of smart contracts and identity, and then crypto as well, that's just going to be such an amazing future that we can bring about, because now people can really start owning their own data, monetizing their own data, and really like stop these clever people from buying or taking our data and selling our data.
And selling it. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Type of experience I see tomorrow that I don't see today is I'm sitting in my lounge watching TV, and I see this ad of an insurance company. And I'm like, oh dear, it's the insurance company again. I need to get quotes on short-term insurance, right? Mm-hmm. And I see the type of experience that allows me to sit on my couch and then put out almost a request for quote into the ether, wherever that goes. But from my app, I need to be able to say, request quote, and it should go to all the insurance companies, and they should come back with a quote. And I also have another thought that came up like in the last few weeks about, but what if I said, these are the things that matter to me, right? So one, how regularly does this insurer pay out claims versus not pay out claims? Number two, because some of them you can claim from and they never get paid because there's always fine print. Then the second one would be cost, and if those are my two deciding factors, then this app, which is going to exist tomorrow, can rank these quotes that I get back and just put my preferred ones on the top based on the criteria I give it, and the less preferred ones at the bottom. so then I can still scroll through and check it out. But now imagine how helpful that would be. I don't have to like send a whole lot of information to a whole lot of companies one by one via email or however, or fill out their online forms because they want it in a certain format and I'm not giving it to them in that format. Just think like that will make my life so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So it's this one-click functionality for convenience in my life.
And also mixing what Tim said just before, maybe you can do it without sharing your actual identity, but only the information that will be used to calculate your insurance. So it is in some way you still preserve your anonymity or your identity before actually signing a contract with the insurance. No?
Oh, I like that. That's like next level stuff. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lucio, we have 4 minutes left, right? Or do we have more time?
Yep. No.
4 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. I think you need to do your close up.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically,
so I just want to say thanks to everyone for your open participation and sharing. This is really good for me. You've given me more stories to be able to tell, like getting married and not changing your name soon enough because there's so much admin involved. So these stories really help us to get people to understand what we're talking about. So thanks so much. It means a lot. Please keep in touch, use those office hours, get those proposals in next week, and reach out to us if we can help you. Thanks so much. Lucio.
Yep. And thank you, Anushka and the team. That was great. And I think we should organize something like that more and more for the next funds, for the next session, because I think there is a really value in this kind of collaboration and direct connection within the community. So, okay, as a Catalyst School, I just share the links to our various channels. So the Discord school channel, the Telegram channel, the YouTube channel, and the Twitter account. And also there is the last link here, the link 3, which includes our next workshops that will happen today and tomorrow. And we have one about proposing in Catalyst, which is really appropriate for the next stage that will open on Thursday. And also there is a similar workshop like this one that we did for a specific challenge about the Scale Up Cardano's community hubs, which is another challenge that is included in the Fund 8, in the Catalyst Fund 8. So keep in touch. We will try to collect all this kind of material and also include everything in our website. So just to have some kind of also written reference for the future. That's it. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Perfect.